unit, okay, CHCDIS007, which is facilitate the empowerment of people with disability. So, in your own understanding, can you please turn off your Wi-Fi or mobile phone if you are watching the YouTube? Where is that coming from? No. Okay.
Probably from the next room.
No. I think there is a phone.
No, it's not. Okay. So, in your own understanding, when you hear facilitate, what is your understanding about facilitate?
It's like provide service.
Providing service, yes. What else?
To
Samiksha?
cater service.
Hmm?
To cater service.
To cater service, what else?
Giving amenities.
Giving amenities, what else? Students from Bhutan. What is your understanding from the word facilitate?
Providing opportunities.
Providing opportunities. Are you from Bhutan?
No, sir, from India.
Oh, from Bhutan. Okay, student from India.
So providing opportunities.
Providing opportunities from Nepal.
Empower with service. Empower with
Support. Okay. So facilitate means to make the people easier. Okay. As a nurse, we are helping the elderly or people with disability to make their life easier. Okay. And for empowerment. Okay. What is your understanding about empowerment? Okay. An action or process to easy or easier is the facilitation. To facilitate. Okay. Where is it came from?
It's in your laptop, sir.
voice.
Yeah, it's your voice and on your mobile.
I think probably that's your voice, sir. Sir, your mobile.
No, it's not from. It's not from.
So it's from your laptop, I think.
So please
Check
go
your
and
laptop.
check.
Okay. So
Maybe it's from different room.
from the word empowerment, what is your understanding about empowerment?
Giving authority,
Giving opportunity.
authority, power.
Where is the volume? Okay. Empowerment means
Giving authority.
Sir, there is that you first of all remove that.
I think that YouTube is still in your laptop.
Sir, press a right click or left click, then it will go.
Alt F4. Alt F4.
anyway. So
Alt plus F4. Alt plus F4.
At the same time.
At the same time, Alt plus F4.
F4.
Up.
F4. Alt plus F4.
F4,
Yeah, F4. F4, F5, it will be.
F4,
Yeah, it will be here. F7.
F4 here.
Yeah, here.
I know you. क्या YouTube खुला था उसमें.
YouTube.
No?
No. Anyway, I'll check it. Okay, so for the empowerment, so we need to empower the elderly or those people with disability to gain their freedom and power to do what they think that they can no longer do. Okay, so we need to encourage them. Okay, so under this we have the key elements: demonstrate commitment to empowerment for people with disability, and foster human rights and facilitate choice and self-determination. So, disability means anything continuing in condition that restrict everyday activities, which is attributable to an intellectual, psychiatric, cognitive, neurological, sensory or physical impairment, or combination of those impairment. Second, which is permanent or likely to be permanent. So for those of you who are already working in the hospital, have you ever encountered to look after the patient with multiple sclerosis? Yeah, multiple sclerosis. So have you ever encountered to look after the patient with epilepsy?
No, but we are more than epilepsy.
So have you ever been encountered to look after patient with stroke? Okay, so those are people with disability. Okay, so as a nurse, we need to encourage them and empower them so that they can gain more strength and be able to realize that they can still do something that they think that they can no longer do it. Okay? So under the neurological disorders, we have diseases of the central and peripheral nervous system. In other words, the brain, spinal cord, cranial nerves, peripheral nerves, nerves roots, autonomic nervous system, neuromuscular, junctions, and muscles. So under this, we have the common diseases that we can encounter in any healthcare settings. We have
So wait for this slide.
Yeah, I just inserted it a while ago. Epilepsy, Alzheimer's disease, and other dementias. Cerebrovascular disease, including stroke, migraine, and other headache disorders. Multiple sclerosis, Parkinson disease, neuro-infections, brain tumors, traumatic disorders of the nervous system due to head trauma, and neurological disorder as a result of malnutrition. Okay, so if you will be working in nursing home, most common diseases that you can encounter with regards to neurological and what they call this, neurological disorders are those patients with stroke, okay, multiple sclerosis,
Parkinson disease.
Parkinson, with patients with dementia. Okay. Epilepsy, it's seldom that you can encounter it in the nursing home. Okay. Disorders. No. So those are the okay, Alzheimer's disease, dementia,
Parkinson disease.
multiple sclerosis,
Parkinson
Parkinson's, yes. So those people who are suffering from multiple sclerosis, you can see that all of the muscles are getting stiff. Okay, and like it's multiple paralysis. Okay, they become stiff, and it's really hard to even the speech. It's the patient cannot be able to speak. Okay, and if you are looking after those kind of patients, it's really hard to manage because you cannot understand what they are saying, especially if their speech has already been affected. Okay? The jaw is lacking. Okay, all muscles are become stiff, and it's really hard to move. Okay, you cannot if the patient's the position of the patient is like this. It's really hard to straighten their arms. Do not force, because it will the patient might have fractures. Okay, so it's really hard to manage, and it's for the patient itself. It's not easy, especially if you want to tell something that the nurse cannot understand, because the speech has already been affected with the disease. Okay, so I remember when I'm still working in the facility, when I looked after the patient with multiple sclerosis, I really feel sorry about her, because she wanted to tell me something that I couldn't understand. So I told her, as much I want to help you, dear, I cannot understand what you're saying. Okay? I feel really frustrated to extend what I can do for you, but however I cannot understand. Okay? Because the speech pattern is already affected. And there are times that this patient has been ignored by the nurses, because for them, the nurses cannot understand what the patient is saying. Okay? They cannot even, the other nurses, they don't even bother to check if the pad is already wet, if the patient has already opened the bowel. Because the nurse who assigned to that patient don't want to stay there, because the patients keep on saying something that the nurses couldn't understand. Okay? And for the patient itself, it's really frustrating on the patient's side. Because if you are in the situation of the patient, you want to convey the message, and the nurse don't pay attention because they cannot even understand what you're saying. So what can you feel?
I feel like crying.
The patient will scream sometimes, because she cannot express what she wanted to say. Okay, so as a nurse, what are we going to do for us to be able to help those kind of patients? We encourage the patient to speak slowly, or if they can, the physiotherapist or the occupational therapist can do something about the nurses, so that if she cannot express what they can say, at least she can point the pictures on her bedside what she wanted to say. If she opened the bowel, then the patient can point out the picture that her pad is already wet. Okay, so it's a matter of maximizing your communication strategies for you to be able to help those patients. So for those patients with cerebral palsy, okay, cerebral palsy patient can the brain is not affected. Okay, they can speak, they can communicate. However, their lower and upper extremities are affected. Okay, they can speak, and if you can see them, they keep on moving their head, like dancing. And if you are going to feed those residents, if you don't know how to manage them, then you cannot even feed that patient, because you cannot control the movement of the head of the patient. The head of the patient keep on swaying. And how can you feed that patient? Okay, so what I do is I stood up on the back of the patient and hold the head of the patient and feed the patient. Because if you cannot hold the head will keep on moving. So how can you feed the patient? Okay, so you need to stand at the back of the patient, hold the head, okay, and then feed the patient slowly. Because if you will not stand on their back, you will stand on the front of the patient. You cannot feed the patient. You need to stand on the back, hold the chin of the patient so that they can minimize the movement, and then you need to feed the patient slowly. Okay? So those are as a nurse, it's up to you how can you utilize your common sense, your communication strategies for you to be able to empower those people with disability. Okay. You will be working in the nursing home, let's say, okay, and you are looking after the patients with the resident that can still mobilize themselves. Okay, do you think those patients are disabled? Well, they can still walk around. They can still talk. Do you think that they are people with disability? Who says yes? Who says no? Am I talking to myself here? Okay, those people in the nursing home who can still manage to look after themselves, can still mobilize themselves, are they considered as people with disability?
No.
Who say no? Raise your hands. Who says yes? Yes? No? Okay. Those people who are in the nursing home, they are considered as people with disability. Whether they can still walk, they can still manage to look after themselves. Once they already in the nursing home, they are considered as people with disability. Because if they are not considered as people with disability, they will not stay in the nursing home. Okay?
They must be having some kind of.
Okay. Number 4, which may or may not be or a chronic or episode nature, which result in substantially reduced capacity of the person for communication, social interactions, learning or mobility, and a need for continuing support services. So, as I have mentioned, as a nurse, we need to exert our effort to utilize our communication skills and common sense. How can we empower and facilitate those people with disability? Okay. Models of disability, tools of defining impairment, helps government and society to devise strategies for meeting the needs of disabled people. Tools for defining impairment, helps government and society to devise strategies for meeting the needs. What's this? It's the same. Medical models or social model of disability. Okay. in medical model of disability, it was conceptualized during 19th century. The modern medicine disability have medical origin. People with disabilities were expected to benefit from medical professions. Society has no underlying responsibility to make a place or persons with disability, example, disability with problem of individual. Okay. Next. Develop and adjust own approaches to facilitate empowerment. To develop strategies, three main sources of information from the client, the family or caregivers, the care plan or document. Okay, so as a nurse, we gather the complaint of our resident or our patient
In a care plan.
from the patient itself, because the patient is the one who can feel, who can experience if they have something wrong with them. Okay, that's the primary information. Second is the second-hand information is coming from the carer or the family, because they are the one with the patient or the people with disability. Okay, and the third is the care plan, wherein all the complaints and information how to manage those patients with disability are written. Okay, so as a nurse, if you are working in the facility, you need to read the care plan before engaging to that patient, so that you have an idea what are the measures that you can deliver, what are the care that you need to give, because all those information are written in the care plan of the patient. Next, type of disability, we have the main categories of disability are physical, sensory, psychiatric, neurological, cognitive, and intellectual. Okay, many people with disability have multiple disability. For example, if you are in the nursing home, okay, so the people that you need to look after are those people with neurological disorders, okay, physical disorders, cognitive, sensory, all of this you can observe it in the people in the residential care. Physical disability, the most common relates to disorders of musculoskeletal, circulatory, respiratory, and nervous system. Okay, so you can see it every day if you will be working in the care facility. Sensory disability, impairment and hearing and vision. Okay, neurological and cognitive disability, acquired disabilities such as multiple sclerosis or traumatic brain injury. Okay, and acquired brain injury, any damage to the brain that occurs after birth. Okay. Types of disability, we have another. Intellectual disability relates to difficulties with thought processes, learning, communicating, and remembering information, and using inappropriately, making judgment, and problem solving. You can also observe this for those patients with dementia. Okay? So they keep on walking around, but they don't know where to go. Okay? So as I have mentioned in my previous lecture, if you will be working in the night shift and you have one resident doing wandering, okay, you don't have enough time to rest. You just need to follow and keep on following that resident, because that resident will keep on entering from one room to another room. And she or he will try to wake up all the residents. Okay? You need to put her back to bed. Okay? Or some, if they will not do wandering, they keep on pressing the buzzer. Can you imagine if you are working at night and one or two of your residents will keep on pressing the buzzer from time to time, and when the buzzer is on, it will disturb a lot of residents. Okay, when you go to her room, the resident will tell you, I need to go to the toilet. And when you put her to the toilet, she will not do anything. So you need to return it back to her bed. And when you turn around after 5 minutes, she will press the buzzer again. Okay, because some of them are seeking attention coming from the nurses. Okay?
What we can do in that case?
Then, what you can do in that case is put her back to bed, or
Again and again?
again and again, and explain to the resident, darling, if it is not really important. Okay, I already put you to the toilet. I already changed your pad. There's nothing wrong, and there's no any reason that you will press the buzzer again, because it disturbed some of the residents.
Sir, what if we close them in the toilet itself? What if we close them in the toilet itself?
No, it's not allowed.
Like they keep on pressing the buzzer for the toilet, so we can say them that we stay here for 2 to 3 hours.
No,
We pass the bowel. After that, I'll pick you
No.
back to bed.
it's not allowed.
How many patients are taken in one room? Like standard?
So the standard is standard 2 residents in one room if they need to share in one room. Okay, but in some nursing home, they have 1 resident in one room. If you are working in the high-end nursing home, wherein 1 resident in one room, they have everything in the room. Okay? They have couch, they have wardrobe, they have toilet and shower, okay? And the floor is carpeted. Okay? So everything is there. But if the resident don't have enough money to pay for one room, they need to share in one room. Okay? Psychiatric disorders resulting in disability may include anxiety disorders, phobias, and depression. Okay, so depression can be treated by giving some encouragement, addressing the needs and problems of that person. However, if the depression cannot give or cannot be treated, or proper intervention is not done to the patient, depression can result from a deeper mental disorder, like schizophrenia. Okay? So you can assess the patient or the person with depression because they don't want to mingle to other patients or to the other resident. They just want to stay in the room. Okay? They don't want to eat, or they eat a lot. Okay? They put weight, and some of them they lose weight drastically because they don't want to eat. Those are the signs of depression. They don't even want to get out from the room. They just want to stay in the room without having meals, without having shower for several days, without having toothbrush, nothing. Those are patients with depression. And the medical intervention must be done to the patient so that the patient will be able to verbalize what they can feel, what they want. Okay? So if they cannot, the problem of the patient having depression will not be able to address, then it will go deeper than depression. They may result from schizophrenia, that the patient can start to hear some auditory hallucination. Okay? That I can hear something telling me that someone are haunting me. Okay? I can hear voices that telling me to get out from this room because there's a lot of danger. Or the FBI are hunting me. President Trump is hunting me. He ordered some FBI to kill me. So those are the things that you can hear from the people with auditory hallucination.
Most of the client group that tells that someone is calling them. The most common is like, I have seen the most common words explanation given by client is like, they are calling them, someone is calling them, someone is calling me. Yeah, whistling all night. Their like most common was that during our posting time.
So there's working in a mental institution is a challenging for the nurses.
Yeah.
Okay. However, if you know how to manage those people with psychiatric disorders, it's good to work in the facility.
So pressure, like we have to work under pressure of everyone, like senior doctors, senior nurse, and patient self.
Because the patient, if the patient, you can exchange your ideas with those patients with mental illness. It's the communication strategies of the nurse how to deal that kind of patients.
We have to be like a good listener and we should have that good skill of patience. Or else like we are not made for mental posting. Oh my God, the patients have so many complaints.
We have mental institution in my country wherein we cater more than 10,000 patients with mental psychiatric disorders.
In one hospital?
In one hospital. It's a huge facility.
Wow.
Where there we have 42 pavilions. Okay, so each pavilions are categorized with different type of mental diagnosis. For the patients with schizophrenia, they have different wards. For patients with bipolar disorder, they have different wards.
That means it will be easy to handle a patient.
For patients with forensic cases, they have different wards.
Because like if they are all patients like the schizophrenia, depressions and all other disorders,
No, we categorize. Okay, so those patients with schizophrenia are in one village. For those patients with bipolar, they are in one village. For those patients with forensic cases, those patients with mental illness but with pending case in the court, they are in different wards.
There is bad because like we can intervene like all nursing procedures to patients, like we don't have to deal with lots of problems.
No, it's because they already categorize in different villages, so it's easy to manage.
Yeah.
When you are assigned to schizophrenia patients, then you only deal with those patients with schizophrenia.
And we have to make a care plan according to that disease only. If the patients have lots of disease, then we have to make 10 care plans.
For those patients who are with depression, they are in one village. For those patients with intoxication, for those patients who are under rehabilitation because of the drugs, they are in one village. So we catered more than 14,000 patients in the whole facilities.
That means that was really big.
It's really big. Okay, and it's challenging for the nurse to look after those patients with mental illness. However, if you know how to use your communication skills strategies, it's easy because you don't need to. There's no need to monitor. Okay? You don't need to monitor from time to time. You just need to ask them to come forward in the morning to give the medication, and ask them to open your mouth.
They are so clever. They wouldn't eaten your medicine, but they put that under that tongue.
Yeah, but you need, as a nurse who are medicating the patients with mental disorders, you need to check. Can you open your mouth widely after taking the medication? Can I see your tongue? Can you roll off back? Okay, so that you know that the medication has already been taken.
First day it was so bad for me.
But it's a challenging. Okay. Next. So human rights are the basic freedom and protection that people are entitled to simply because they are human beings. Right to being informed, right to hold on own cultural and religious belief, right to liberty and security. Okay, we already mentioned this several times, and it is not new to you. Okay. So United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, we have first binding international human rights instrument to explicitly address disability. The purpose is to promote, protect, and ensure that full and equal employment of all human rights and fundamental freedom by all persons with disabilities, to promote respect for their inherent dignity. Okay. Even though they already disabled, you can see here in Australia, okay, if there's a member of the family who are disabled, they have the institution to look after, and so that any concern of that particular person will be addressed by those people who are working in that facility. Like, for example, the cerebral palsy. If you have a family member with cerebral palsy, you can go to Australian Foundation for Cerebral Palsy, and you can ask help from them. And if you can no longer look after that member of the family, then you can ask the foundation for help, so that you can bring your family member to that care center, so that the needs of your family member with cerebral palsy can be addressed by those people who are working in that facility. And they have a very good and service. The government allotted a huge fund for those Australians with disability. Okay? And you can see them living in a very comfortable environment. Okay? Next, strategies can be used to assist people with disabilities to exercise their rights. Inform them of their rights. Okay? So, that is the advantage if you will be working in Australia. Okay? And there's also a disadvantage for the nurses who will be working in the facility, because the patient know exactly what are the rights, what is the rights. Okay? If they think that you are not doing your job properly, then they can easily call the management. and tell the management that this nurse who are looking for me is not really competent of what she or he is doing. They know exactly if you are competent or not. If you are doing the right thing or not. They know exactly the rights. They can lodge the complaint anytime. Okay? That is why it's really impossible. It's really good for the nurses to know the case and the care plan of your patient, so that you know exactly what are you going to do when you engage your care to that specific patient. Okay? Advocate for the person. Refer them to an advocacy agency if needed. Okay, common principles, however, have been identified as the panel principle. Okay, to develop strategies, 3 main sources of information we have: participation, accountability, non-discrimination, and equality, empowerment, and legality. Okay, participation, we need to encourage the people with disability to engage or participate in the activity that will benefit for them. Okay? Accountability, as a nurse who are working, delivering care for that particular person, you are accountable for your own action. Okay? In Australia, they have equipment. For example, to mobilize those people with disability. Okay? If you will work in the cerebral palsy care, okay, the lifter are connected to the ceiling, okay, of the patient. If you need to mobilize those people with cerebral palsy, the lifter are already attached in the ceiling of the room. Okay, so that you can attach the sling and mobilize the resident from the bed to the wheelchair. They have the special chair that they use for them to be able to mobilize. And that's not an ordinary wheelchair that commonly seen in the nursing home. For those patients with cerebral palsy, they have different wheelchair. Okay. Will you please put your mobile phone in silent mode? Non-discrimination and equality, empowerment and legality. Question? Okay, key legislation. This is, you can find it in your assessment. Okay, Disability Services Act of 1986 provides rights for people with disability to services that support quality of life. Disability Discrimination Act of 1992 makes it legal to discriminate against a person because of their disability. And Age Care Act of 1997. Question? Okay. Disability Discrimination Act provide protection for everyone in Australia against discrimination based on disability. Aims to promote quality, opportunity, and access for people with disability. Under this, we have planning for person-centered care, planning for increased social engagement, planning to increase the client's sense of purpose, self-worth, and self-esteem. Okay, let's discuss it one by one. So according to this act is to provide for everyone in Australia against discrimination based on disability. Okay, that's why they have the legislation law, that opportunity for all. Even though you have disability, if you are capable to work in that company, and if you apply for the position, and the company assess your resume that you are capable to do the job, they have no rights to refuse the applicant. That's the good thing here. Because they have the legislation law that equal opportunity for all. Provided that the criteria that they are looking are matched to your criteria, then they will give you the chance to work with them. Okay? Planning for person-centered care. So once we say person-centered care, means we need to make a plan that will focus to that person as a whole. Okay? And planning for increased social engagement.
Planning to increase.
So what are the capability of that person with disability? What are the interests that she or she might have, so that you can create a plan for them to be able to exercise and explore their interest. Okay? Planning to increase the client's sense of purpose, self-worth, and self-esteem. Okay, for you to, if in my country, if you are a person with disability, the only person that can understand you are your family members. And those people outside will criticize or discriminate you because of your status. Okay? Only later part of our government, they give importance for those people with disability. But before, only the family can understand and look after those people with disability. We don't even have the cerebral palsy institution in my country. Okay? The person looking after, the person with cerebral palsy is the person looking after with those kind of disability are their family members, which gives a lot of burdens for the family who are looking after that person. Okay? Because we don't have any institution to look after them. But in Australia, they have. And you can see sometimes that people with cerebral palsy are still able to go around wearing their remote wheelchair. They can still go for shopping. And the roads has a special way for those people with disability. But in my country, we don't have that. But here you can see that they give importance for those people, and those people with disability can still feel that they are still a part of the society. They cannot feel that they are isolated because they can go anywhere they want to go. Okay? I close the door, you open the door. I close the door, you open the door. The door. Okay. Australian Disability Services Standard, we have rights, participation and inclusion, individual outcomes, feedback, complaint, service access, and service management. Okay. So for the rights, you have the right to be treated fairly when you use employment, as I have discussed a while ago. If your skills will match the criteria that the company is looking for the employee, then you can apply and you can send your resume. And the company who are looking for that post will give you a chance to be a part of them. Okay? If you pass with the interview, then you can have the job. Okay? Participation and inclusion, you can take part in the community and feel included when you use employment. Because of the act that they have, the legislation act. I charged my phone and then someone took my charger. Okay. Number 3, individual outcome. Employment supports you to make choices about what you want to do. Okay, feedback, complaints. You can tell people what you think about the services you receive from employment. As I am telling you, that they know exactly the rights. If you are working in this facility and they think that you are not properly doing your work, then they can lodge the complaint easily. Because they know what number they need to call. They know exactly how to lodge the complaint. Yes, they are aware. Not like in my country that we don't give an idea to our patient. And if the patient complains, then we are the one making a solution. It will not go a higher level most of the time.
It comes to us.
Yes.
These nurses are only the patients who listen all the problems, try to solve all the problems. Doctors are their one.
And we don't have malpractice law, not like in Australia. That's why you can observe when you go to GP, if you have cough, they don't give any antibiotic at all. Not unless you really need it. In my country, if you have a cough, you buy this. Azithromycin for 1 week,
Yeah.
and then come back. But here, you cannot. The doctors will not prescribe easily. If you have cough, drink plenty of water. But in my country, if you have cough, it's azithromycin. Antibiotic for 7 days.
In
The
our
most
country also
common-
same. No.
Yeah.
They will have experience on medicine. You take this first. If it doesn't
But
work,
here,
you can
no.
have another.
They don't give any antibiotic prescription instantly unless you really need it.
In my country, I think we really don't need doctors as well because all mothers as experts, they know every disease has one solution. Paracetamol, take this. Flaxen, take this. It's all.
Okay.
Fever, all.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Next. Service access, finding and using services is fair. You can access the services you need. And service management, employment is managed, so your needs are met. Okay, so as I have mentioned, if the person with disability, for example, if the person is already in advanced dementia, if you are working in the care facility, then the people, the family, the medical team will have a case conference so that both parties will be able to address the needs of that person. Okay, so based on our observation, based on our assessment, your father or your mother can no longer look after by one nurse. He or she needs to be looked after by 2 nurses at a time. Okay, so they make a solution. The opinion of the family, the opinion of the patient, and the opinion of the healthcare team are consolidated to come up with a good solution for that particular person. Okay? Empowerment, strength-based practice, emphasizes people's self-determination in strength, promotes client empowerment, focusing on competence focuses on the abilities and the strength of the care recipient. So what is your understanding about this? Promotes client empowerment. Okay, student from Bhutan. What is your understanding about that? Promotes client empowerment or promote patient empowerment. This class is very no, you group yourself according to your origin. Bhutan, India, and Nepal.
Sir, we sat here because we got easy access to Charles.
Yeah,
Because
we used to study.
but we used to study here. With Bhutan and India. Sometimes with Bhutan, sometimes with India.
In the middle.
She has returned back to Nepal after a long time.
And we returned back to Nepal because we get easy access to
Yeah.
Charles.
You group yourself according to the origin.
No, sir, that's not right.
But we all are
Yeah,
Okay, Miss Bhutan. What is your understanding about promotes client empowerment? Okay, students from India.
Providing clients' rights.
I already mentioned this a while ago. We just
Sir, telling
You have to tell them their rights to give them
provide
and
more
encourage
support.
the clients.
we need to
It promotes
encourage the client to participate in activities.
And to provide the
Okay.
rights of the client.
We need to inform the clients the rights. What else? Kadka. Promotes client empowerment. What is your understanding about that?
Even if they are like differently able, they get equal opportunities like in employment.
Okay. Focusing on competence. As a nurse, we need to assess what are the interests of our resident or your patients. If you know the interest of your patient, then you can come up with a good solution, a good care plan for them to be able to empower them. Okay, focus on the abilities and the strength of the care recipient. What are the strengths and weaknesses of your client? Okay, empowerment continue. Person-centered practice using people's personal strength to aid in recovery and empowerment. It provides valued roles, participation in the community, and building relationship. Okay. Empowerment, active support, number 3, way of providing assistance to people that has a focus on making sure that individuals are engaged and participate in their own support. Example, the skill development, life skill, vocational skills, and social skills, etc. Okay, as a nurse, it is our sole responsibility to determine what are the skills, strength, and weaknesses of our patients. Okay. Basic principle of active support, we have to live a full life like anyone else. Be a part of the community, have a good and long relationship with friendship and family, have opportunities to develop, experience, and learn new skills, and have choices and control over their life. Okay? Next, advocacy through empowerment will enable people to have the same rights and citizenship as everyone else in the society. It includes standing behind the person or the people with disability by providing support to represent their own interests, and standing beside people with disability by assisting them to advocate their own interests, example, accompanying individuals. Question? Okay, so we just need to discuss this, and afterwards you can have your lunch break. Okay. Barriers, we have adults with disability face tremendous barriers to effective, accessible, patient-centered, and efficient care in our current healthcare system. Attitudinal barriers, basic and contribute to other barriers, stereotyping, stigma, prejudice, and discrimination. Attitude of people in society, example regarding as a little value, rejection, overaction, expression of pity, unnecessary help, etc. Okay, questions with regards to this?
No.
Okay, so we are going to stop here.
Okay. Slide number 25.
Okay.
Siya, mga